Welcome in. Good morning to you. Guten Morgen, Buenos Dias, and all of the other languages we all know together. Today's going to be good. This is one of my favorite concepts. We've talked about some wonderful things this week. As a recap, we started with assumptions, the one move that changes everything. We know that we assume on the inside, and that's where change actually happens. That's where the fourth dimensional impact actually occurs, is on the inside, and that's with an assumption. Day 2, we learned about revision. We talked about revision, and revision is just one of the most amazing, mind-blowing things that will change your life the moment you try it. The very first time you try it, it's going to blow your mind, especially, well, obviously as you see the results from it, but it is the change, the conscious-minded changer that happens in real time. Day 2 is really one to dig in with, and the whole concept itself. Remembering that Neville said if he doesn't say anything else past revision, his work is complete in this reality. I mean, what a heavy concept. Day 3, thinking fourth dimensionally. Walking as if. It's the embodiment of the principles we've been discussing so far. So we're taking this nice logical progression. We're bringing it back around to where all of it begins and ends, is with self. There's no one to change but self. Who do men say that I am? It's a very interesting beginning point. Who do men say that I am? First off, we're in the fourth dimension when we close our eyes. We're thinking from within. We know that He is our imagination. All that is our imagination. God, all that is, the Supreme Being. It doesn't matter the words. Forget about the words for a second. We know that our imagination is our creative device, if you want to put it that way. Who do men say that I am? Well, you're tied into that. Because when your eyes are closed, you're in the fourth dimension. You're inside. You're in the unconscious. You're in the subconscious. All of us are connected because I and my Father are one. My Father is greater than I. My Father and I are one. My Father is greater than I. If we're all plugged in to the same Father, the same source, the same all that is, and it has an above network, which is when our eyes are open, and it has a below network, which is our subconscious. Whatever we're thinking about each other is connected at the subconscious level. So when we say, who do men say that I am, we actually already know that inside, on an inner level, unconsciously, not above, but below. We all are connected. There's an old saying that if you're talking bad about other people, they're most likely doing the same thing about you. You can't escape it. It's literally in your face. So if you're talking good about other people, then of course it's obviously happening in that realm too. You have a choice. The subconscious doesn't have a filter. It doesn't say, oh, you're thinking bad and saying bad things about your neighbor, your friend, your associate, your work partner, whatever. It's not going to correct for you because it's just going to carry for you. The subconscious network is connected literally perfectly. So everything is heard. When you say, who do men say that I am? You know what they say you are. In this whole idea of no one to change but self, everyone is you pushed out in the first place. So if everyone is you pushed out, then all you have to do is look out. Once you open your eyes, excuse me, once you open your eyes, so once you open your eyes and see a reflection, which is you coming back at yourself, that is who you are to yourself. So if this car in my driveway is a certain car, brand or year, or it's old or it's new, once you see it as a reflection, then you realize, especially with the Neville Goddard material or the Seth and Jane material, everything is you pushed out, especially when you know it's a reflection, you know you're creating it, you know there's only one place that change can happen. Sooner or later, you have to get on the horse. There's the horse of the victim, and then there's the horse of the creator. Sooner or later, you got to get on that horse of the creator and take on this responsibility that, yes, first off, I realize I'm creating it. I realize I create my own reality. Imagination creates reality. You have to get off the victim horse and get onto the creator horse. And at that Once the leg is over the top of that horse, now you're in a new playground. The new playground demands responsibility. Responsibility is, what is it that I'm seeing that is reflecting what I am? If I like it, let me imagine more of it. If I don't like it, let me imagine less of that and change. You're on the creator horse, but you can change self-concepts. You have the whole circle of self-concepts. In my Father's house are many mansions. Once you change a self-concept, you're changing inside here from I am poor to I am wealthy, I am sick to I am healthy, I am single, not married, and don't even have a prospect for a partner, yet I am married and in love. You're changing self-concept. Each self-concept is yours, already waiting for you once you think of it. So you're on the creator horse. Now you are responsible for your reality and your reflection. So now you start to focus on the new self-concept and let the old one go away from your attention. It's called kill the old man, let the dead bury the dead. There's all kinds of wonderful phrases, but just don't focus on it anymore. Focus on the one you want to be. Frank 32. Hi, Gilbert. Sorry to go back to revision, but what is a way you can revise, say, a fight with your spouse? Good question. Or right a wrong that I committed. Love the series and thank you for your answer. Frank 32, the revision is so powerful. You can revise. Now, I have a wife, 26 years of practice, a few years now of revision practice. And not just to those of you who are married and in a relationship or have let's say an argument or a fight, but to the idea that revision works not just when you're falling asleep, not just when you're looking back at your day. Revision works in live time, in real time. I like to call it lifetime. I'm a race fan, so I used to go to the races, and they would always call it live timing, where the car is on the track and the live lap, where they are and who's leading and how many seconds ahead, blah, blah, blah. So the live time to me makes the best sense as a phrase. Point is, in live time, my wife and I are driving to the restaurant. We don't know what restaurant yet. We love sea salt, so we bring sea salt with us every time we go out. But I always forget it. She's not thinking about the sea salt when we leave the house. So we have our first little thing. Did you bring the salt? No. Did you bring the salt? No. So we have that little thing to go over as we're driving off, but we don't know which restaurant. And the funny thing is, my wife's intuition about a place to go is super keen. She'll say something like, oh, what about, and I'll go, and I pay attention every time she does that because it usually ends up in the best place to go. Her intuition is very spot on. So I always like, yeah, that sounds good. Even though I maybe don't even want to go there. So we now have a direction to go. But let's say the day isn't going that smoothly, that the day is, there might be some complaints about what I said or what I did or what I didn't do, etc. And she's in the throes of saying a certain thing, and it could be something she said before, and she's repeating herself, and it's okay, no big deal. But she's getting it, she's expressing it, and she's getting it off her chest, and it's coming out. And it could be anger aimed in my direction. Well, I have the power of revision. In real time, and to my words, live time, I can start hearing a different thing going into my ears, coming out in the sound of what she's saying. So let's say she's saying, for the fun of it, just for the fun of it, that I needed to walk the dog and I didn't walk our dog. And she's right here giving me the business about not walking the dog, but I needed to walk the dog and I didn't walk the dog because I'm too busy doing this other thing. Let's say she's giving me the business about not walking the dog. Well, I'm like, well, I'm focused on the restaurant, and she brought up a good restaurant. So we're driving, and she's talking about the dog or walking the dog. This is just a fun example. But in my ears, I'm hearing her say, thank you for walking the dog. I'm so glad he got a good walk in today, and that automatically trims his nails as he walks on the concrete. And I'm over here, while she's over there in her tirade, not a tirade, but you know what I mean. While she's over there giving me the business of her expression, which is very valid. Those of you who are married, you know what I'm talking about. It's her expression, and it is important to you because that's what creates relationship, is hearing each other. You have to have that back and forth. So she's expressing herself, and it might not even be happy. I'm hearing happy. Now this, you can call this fantasy and illusion, but it's actually, when you call it revision, you're actually creating anew the situation. Because then what happens next, and I've seen it too many times, the anger or the expression of discomfort over the dog walking completely vanishes. Literally evaporates, because I'm hearing something different. And then I'm just sitting over here minding my own business, revising in live time, and I've heard the pot, and all of a sudden the entire conversation changes. It's like the anger or the disruption about the dog walking literally evaporates right while you're driving. So my opinion, this to me is Frank 32, one of the best ways you can use revision in live time. Now, in line with today's subject, no one to change but self, all you did was you got into a position where you realize revision is changing it here, right? 1, 2, 3, me, myself, and I. There's no one to change myself. As you revise what she was saying, I'm assuming, Frank 32, that you're male. It works the same, doesn't matter male or female. So you're changing you because you're hearing something here in your ear, your mind's ear, that is being said outside of you. So you're changing yourself, proving, as you see the whole situation change and deflate, and all of a sudden the subject's completely different. It's actually never brought up again. When you revise in that kind of situation, it's never brought up again because you revised it, proving there's no one to change but self. And if you don't get something out of that, and try it and come back and tell us how it worked, it's going to knock you. It's going to blow your mind, because it works. Revision works in real time. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you for the super chat. Tariq, hi Gilbert, hello, good morning to you, Tariq. Welcome. Prasoon, hi Gilbert, good morning and welcome, Prasoon. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Irene, thank you for all that you do. I know my end, but sometimes feel nervous and overwhelmed because it's a huge change from my current state. Is this normal? I want to be married and fully provided for. Yes, it's normal. Absolutely normal. Everything is, you're welcome again. I'm rereading your comment. Everything is normal. It couldn't be if it wasn't normal already, because we're all made of Him. He made us in His image, fell asleep in us, went into a comatose state, and is not awake yet. So everything we're doing, He's asleep and dreaming us. So whatever we're doing, even though we're that dream of His, we're part of the awakening of that dreaming self that's asleep in us. Everything we're doing is more getting closer to that awakening, if that makes sense. And to have the idea of the ideal self you want to be, and I love the concept of relationship, because relationship and marriage is the true expression of love. And you get to a point where you have to love yourself to be able to realize that I am going to bring something to the party. I realize that relationship isn't just what I can get. A relationship's mostly what I can give. That's how a relationship, I think, is a successful turnaround for you, is when you realize that love in here matters first, so then I can bring some love to a relationship, to a place where we can hold our loves together. You bring yours, your partner brings theirs, you mix that together. There's this constant interchange in there, kind of like a yin and yang symbol. It's a constant interchange of energy. But it's what you're bringing. It's that concept of, I do deserve this, and I am going to experience it. I'm going to focus on that. That's a mansion that I can occupy, and I'm not worried. I will occupy it. So everything you're doing now should be based on that, especially that self-love, then the love expressed. You're going to change the consciousness in here and then watch it reflect back to you. Hopefully that makes sense. It is normal. Prasoon, hi Gilbert, can we completely revise the day? Not by changing any specific event we didn't like, but by placing it in an entirely new setting, a different place and situation. And Neville does this all the time. one of my favorite examples is when he was experiencing a hot day a cold freezing day in New York. He bought a vacation, prepaid for, to go to Maine with his wife and his child, Victoria, I believe. And at the moment, he was having a very cold night. And I don't even know what his amenities were like where he was living, but I'm sure it was a hotel. He imagined being in the tropics in Barbados at home with his family, his mom, and experiencing the heat and the sounds. He just imagined it, although his plans were to go off to Maine on a vacation with his family. He got a telegram, I think it was the next day, that his mother was on her deathbed and he needed to go right away, immediately, to Barbados. And this was the time when the World War II was still in action, and I believe, and they went the next day. So what he didn't plan, because he changed where he was, he imagined he was in the tropics, he imagined he was experiencing the heat. So yes, you can definitely change completely where you are, and you want to be very careful. Look at Neville. He had a whole vacation planned and paid for. Then all of a sudden he has to go to his mother's on her deathbed in Barbados. There's no changing it. This new setting thing, your question is a very good one. A different situation and place altogether. I was in the Navy. I experienced the same thing. My mother was literally on her deathbed, and I had a new girlfriend, and this was all a new kind of love flowing through me. And I didn't want to be in Seattle on the ship. We sailed out of San Francisco, and we were doing something up by the Aleutian Islands. And then we stopped in Seattle, and I made the phone call, found out my mother was on her deathbed, and I had the Red Cross call the ship. My father called the Red Cross, called the ship. They gave me some tickets. I flew home. I didn't make it in time. She passed away just before I got home, back down to Long Beach. The going from one place to another place, I had a renewed relationship that was magnet. It was like a magnet for me. So it was pulling me. But this situation compelled me to go, which it was all interesting coincidence, timing. She's passing away, and I had already just been here visiting her in the hospital. She died of cancer, and I had already had my visits, but this was the last moments. So like Neville being pulled because he imagined it, it was a compelling force. You might not see or recognize your harvest, but you want to be careful because it is your harvest. So placing it in an entirely new setting, yes, but just be careful. Make sure that is what you want, because you will be magnetically pushed, pulled, prodded, and compelled. Irene, I have a specific person, by the way. Wonderful. That's good news. Work on it. Persist, 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 Irene. It really happens with persisting. Frank 32, I am male and want to revise some fights, so you are correct. Good. It is all doable. All those. And the beauty about revision is you can revise in live time, meaning while you're sitting here, you could be at a cocktail party, whatever we call it nowadays, a party. You could be among friends, and there's a negative conversation happening. The first time I saw revision work, I was with a bunch of buddies, and we were at a golf course, and a car had gotten broken into, and somebody stole some clubs out of the car. So somebody popped a window, took the clubs, and so there was a group of guys. My first time golfing together with this group of people. I don't really golf a whole lot, but this conversation was all negative about you can't, this neighborhood, this, that, the other. This was at Little Rec Park in Long Beach, if you're familiar with the area, 7th Street and Park, right by the Lion's Den. Used to be a concert venue. So conversations going back and forth. This neighborhood, that neighborhood, the car got broken into, and I'm sitting there. I just learned about revision. This is 2022. So I'm sitting there on my golf cart, and I'm just like going, okay, I'm going to try it right now. I'm going to try revision right now. So I just started hearing people talking about something else. As they were discussing what they were discussing in that negative light, I started to force myself to hear that we were talking about the golf game or the balls or the success of hitting a ball into the hole, which is the point of golf. I just literally just started hearing that on purpose. in not even a few seconds. There's like about 5 or 7 people all together right here. The conversation didn't just evaporate. It never even returned to that. It was like I watched it in real time change the channel. Just changed right in front of me. The conversation evaporated. So revision is very powerful. You can do it in real time, in the moment. You're in the party. People are saying negative things. Even let's say somebody's talking about negative about somebody else. You can start hearing the thing you want to be hearing, instead of Simon Peter blocking what you don't want to hear and hearing what you want to hear. It works, it works, it works. Try it, you're not going to believe it. Those fights will dissolve. You're welcome, Frank32. Irene, yes, it makes sense. Thank you. You're very welcome. Prasoon, you're pronouncing my name better than most people from where I'm from. Oh, very good. I appreciate that. Oh, boy. Isn't it wonderful? So, in these examples with Irene and Prasoon and Frank, the main thing that we're learning about right now, we're talking about revision, but we're still talking about me, myself, and I. If I'm revising in live time, I'm changing here because I'm the one who forced some different information inside. If I'm putting it in here in my mind's ears, that I'm hearing the positive talk about somebody else, not negative, and then the conversation changes outside of me, then I only changed myself. It's still a wonderful example of the fact that there is nobody to change but self. No one to change but self. So who do men say that I am? Back to our original idea. That's for you to define. You can define it any way you want. And as you change your definition of self, the entire cast changes. Now, the interesting thing about the golf game and those people, I didn't return to golfing with them. I think I might have went one more time. So the cast changed as well. Now, I didn't hang out with that people a whole lot. 2 or 3 of them are best friends that we grew up together, so we're kind of loyal, long-term friends that we see each other. Time doesn't go by, that kind of thing. So, but the other group of the 5 others, maybe, or 4 others, I don't see anymore. So if there is more negative conversation like that, the cast will change around you. As you revise and you change yourself, you'll see the cast in your drama change. Characters will fall away and new characters will come and replace them. And those new characters are typically built on the new you. So once you change the self-concept, the cast in your drama completely changes. Your self-concept is the vine of you. And the offshoots of branches, other people come in. It's like if you're the vine and the branches are your dramas and your reflection in life, other people come and play those roles, which are reflected in symbols of the fruit on the vine. So if you see fruit on your vine that you don't like and you revise the vine because you are the vine, your self-concept of you right now is the vine, and the fruit is showing you something you don't like, you prune, you revise. You prune what you don't want to see, and then you bring back to the vine you, and it starts to show different fruit. Those fruits are the different people. They're going to come and reflect the better you, the awesome you, the new you in a relationship, the new you married, whatever it is. Ren 7E, so revision is more about feeling something happened the way you wanted it to, more so than the visualizing. Yes, I would say so. And I know we've talked about visualizing, that you've talked about it, and you've said that, it's tough to bring that together in a scene. It is, all of this is about feeling, if you think about it. If you can pretend that you're in a situation when you're with others, if you could pretend that your eyes are actually closed, how would it feel standing with those people? If you're with others in a group, how does it feel? And if it doesn't feel exciting and fun and uplifting, then you might have some fruits on your branches that need pruning. If you want to feel better, because the feeling inside is going to help you understand what is on your branches of your vine, the fruit that you sent out, the reflection back. This concept of forgiveness is very important. Like I'm talking about, if you're in a group of people and they're talking bad about somebody else and you're revising, that means you're imagining lovingly. Imagining lovingly is the definition of the term forgiveness. This is going to be a series of videos I'm going to make on the Neville terminology, redefining the terms, because forgiveness is imagining. Imagining lovingly for another is forgiving them, in the terms of Neville and how Neville has put this together in his breakdown of all of this understanding. He really unlocks the idea of Scripture and puts it into the right definitions of terms. Forgiveness is imagining lovingly for somebody else. And once you imagine lovingly, you become the new self. This is my favorite part. Neville said once he became self-persuaded on an idea that somebody wanted something in their life, once he became self-persuaded, then he changed, which means he imagined lovingly for them. They wanted to sell a house or have a partner, be married. He said once he's self-persuaded, then the self he was that before the request came, he believed that person was single. When he found out the person wanted to be married, then he imagined them coming to him later, telling him, showing him the ring, that they're now married and they're happy. He imagined that. He self-persuaded himself. So therefore, this is where it gets a little tricky. If you're new to Neville, especially, his new self was the one that believes this person is married. The old self that didn't believe it because he wasn't even aware of it, this self has to die and fall away. The new self that Neville said is self-persuaded is the one that believes it and is going to hear that person come up and show him her ring and how she's married and happy now. This new self just performed a sacrifice. Sacrifice the old for the new. So as you become self-persuaded for someone else, you're imagining lovingly for them. So I'm only changing here again. There's no change out here. That person says they want to be married, and then I imagine that they're going to tell me about the new news and how wonderful it is, especially for you, Irene, and you're going to come back and type in here, oh yes, it's all this seemed to click right away. This is my imagining going on here. So I'm sacrificing the self that wasn't even aware of you wanting that. But now that I become aware of it, now then I am also believing, I'm persuading myself that you're going to come and type in, yes, you now have somebody who's totally into it, and you're into it, and it's going to happen like a magnet. I'm already seeing that. So the self before you brought that up, Irene, is now dead to me. The new self that has you included typing in is now alive to me. I have to give that my attention. And I don't need to do it more than just right now. It's already done. You got to be like Neville. It's already done. Okay, Pruning. You learned about manifestation in 2022. You've gained so much knowledge so quickly. I only discovered it randomly in February 2025, and it feels like the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. Yes, Pruning, it's true. I started Neville in January 1st of 2022, and if you haven't been watching the channel a whole lot, I started in September 1991 when I met my teacher, and I wanted to bring up some of my history. The reason I met my teacher in the first place, I'll give you a little quick history. I'm going to make more videos on my story, but I went into a broken relationship situation, I would say, in 1990. And for about 9 months of 1990, I was in turmoil over a breakup that I caused and that I was rejecting of this other person. So then I spent 9 months at least in the fetal position, bummed out, still going to work and doing my life, but just bummed out on how I could make such a mistake. But my only question I had during that whole time, why would I do something so stupid? Because this relationship meant a lot to me, and we seemed to be, in my mind at the time, such a good fit. So my only question during that 9 months of being very depressed was why? 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 All I was repeating was why. I come out of that 9 months, then I move into an apartment right next door to my teacher, which I didn't know for another 9 months. I moved in January of 91 to that address on Redondo Avenue. Her bookstore's next door. In September, maybe about August, I wander in there because it's right there. I live on in the number 2, the only door facing the street, which is the sidewalk, and then here's her bookstore. I wander and I go, "What is this place? What do you do here?" Because I like books. I read books, and so I go in. It's a bookstore. Oh, well, I do this, that, and the other. And before I know it, I'm getting a consultation with her, which is a reading. She did my numbers, told me all these things, and I was just blown away. And that was September of 91, Prasoon. So that's when I started. 4 years, 12 hours a day, full researching everything, numerology, palmistry, tarot, astrology. I learn all these lessons with her. I take classes from her. Then we start reading and talking about the Seth material, and it becomes this love affair with metaphysics that I cannot. It's like a massive fire I cannot put out because it's. I'm fully compelled to learn everything I can from her. 25 years together with her. We're always doing psychic fairs. We're always doing all these things. But in the beginning, I learned how to repair my ideas about relationship and how I can get back into the idea of love and relating and all women are, these kind of things. But then in the backdrop of it all is always metaphysics. Always you create your own reality, the Seth material, getting into the Ho'oponopono and at the 29-year mark and 2 years of Ho'oponopono. So Prasoon, the manifesting I was always doing was through the light of the Seth material, you create your own reality. But when I got to Neville, he lit some more ideas and brought them to life that I knew were not fully completed with Seth, at least to me. And I did a lot with the Seth material. But then when I got to Neville, he completed some of these little pieces that I needed to get to finally complete this puzzle. So it might sound like, it's just Neville, but it's not just Neville. It's also, what's September 91 to now? I mean, we're talking 34 years right now, right? We are in September? Yeah, we're in September. So 2025, so what is that, 34 years? So 34 years, Prasoon. So thank you for the compliment, but it hasn't been just a couple. It's been a lot, and there's a lot more in that story I didn't put out, but we'll talk about it more later. Want to keep focused on no one to change but self. Thank you, though, for that. Ren 70, if there is someone in our life or social circle that hates us due to a political view, you would advise to feel lovingly toward them? I'm having a hard time doing that with this person. No, I get it, totally. And yes, the answer, plain and simple, is definitely yes. You want to imagine lovingly. What do they say? The squeaky wheel gets the grease? Because that's the person that needs the most attention. They're there because they need the love. Literally. And they're bothering you because you need to be giving the love. This is how it works. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Politics. Don't you love politics? So yes, that's the answer, Ren 70. Irene, thank you. You're welcome very much. Prasoon, I was born in 1991. Nice. We're all born. We all. What is it? What is it? Neville said. It shows up, it waxes, and then it wanes. We all have a slice. Hopefully, 105 years worth, slice of time from the beginning to the end. But it's all in a now. This is the magnificence of it. Everything's happening in a now. I love the concept that Seth teaches wonderfully. And if you're trying to change yourself, and you think you have this thing called past that's not letting you change yourself, you're putting too much investment in that thing called the past. You need to invest in a now to understand that that's where your power is to change yourself. It's not in the past. It's not because you were abused or you had these things happen to you that you can't change. Nope. False. Stop it. It's not in a future. Someday I'm going to be in a relationship. Someday I'm going to be married. Someday I'm going to get this college degree. Someday I'm going to have the right job. Someday I'm going to have the right partner. Nope. Stop that too. That's an illusion. The past and the future, if you're trying to give away your power to those places that you'll be better or you were better, it's failing to recognize that your power is in your now, which the Seth material teaches wonderfully. Neville does too. Because the thing about Neville is he never, and somebody commented this, and it was a great comment. It's like Neville really kind of never says, lay down on the couch, let's talk about it. How was your mother, and who was your mother and your father, and what happened when you were a kid? Neville doesn't do any of that stuff. Neville deals with it right here, right now. Imagine the person you want to be now. Okay, what does that feel like? What does it feel like to be walking as if? Neville deals with it right here, right now, where your present is. I love when he says that man seems to have forgot his ability to maintain the tense. The tense of where you are reminds you of your power to be something different. No one to change but self. What is self? I am. That tense means now. His name is I am. His name, if I use that phrase, which we can never escape, you can never escape I am. What is your name? I am Gilbert. I am Neville. I am Joan. I am Irene. I am is his name, but you can never not start with it in reference to yourself, and that I am is referring to now. There is no other. It's not I will be Neville. It's not I was Neville. It's not I will be Gilbert. It's not I will be Irene. It's not I was Irene. It's not. You're never going into those automatically. You're only ever going into now, and that's what's the beauty of Neville, is that he gets you to look at this from that tense. That's the tense where your power exists to change and focus on what you want to be or who you want to be. It's a very interesting way that Neville has come at this, and it's very, very positive. It's very good. It's 1991. Congratulations. Ren 70, I have all women are issue 2, and I'm a woman. Well, it's all women are. You don't even want to know what I thought when my teacher asked me that. I don't want to know what I thought when my teacher asked me that. But I know now, loving, caring, nurturing. All women are loving, caring, and nurturing. I had to create that belief in a place that was a vacuum because my experience before wasn't pleasant, and I got this belief structure built from social, from I don't know where it came from. It just came, it was in my world, and that doesn't matter. But it's the way I grew up. It was very negative, I would say. But I didn't have any other. There was no course correction until I met my teacher. I didn't have course correction. It was just like it just seemed so random until I found that ability to study a material that could help me change over here. And knowing that if I change here, it's going to change out here. I even had that within the Seth material and within my teacher, even before Neville. It's all been an undercurrent of learning and applying, testing, failing, start again, try, fail, try, fail. If you fail fast, then you learn quicker, then you learn to be successful quicker, which is a very interesting point. So yeah, that definition of women, all women are. I have the same thing, all men are. I'm a man, I have the same. All these are beliefs that we have. They're all to a different degree. What are you going to, if you want to change them, change them. They benefit you when you change them. And you're only changing yourself. Back to the whole point of today. You're only ever changing yourself. You can't change anything on the outside, as Neville reminds us consistently about. There's a part in the lesson 4 about steeping the old kid in mother's milk, and it's what we're talking about. It's not giving attention to the thing you don't want to experience anymore. It's the same point of what we're making, is that you don't want to give attention to your old self when you're trying to become the new self. And so as you're trying to change what you believe about women, Ren 70, so then you're like all women are, but you can't fall back. So you have to stop steeping the kid in the mother's milk. You can't go back. When you go back, you fall back and you're back into the old habit. You have to create a routine which keeps you focused in the new habit. Routines will help. what you do at this time of day, that time of day, when you wake up. I'm going to be covering this a little more later. Pruning, Neville, in his lecture, The Pearl of Great Price, greatest lecture ever, said that we must not believe in astrology, numerology, and only keep in mind that imagination creates reality. What do you think about that? I agree with it completely. And believe me, I could do some numerology right now with any birthday that will knock your socks off. I could literally say some things because I've spent a lot of my time in those studies. And my teacher wrote many books on the subject. I inspired her to write her first tarot book. She had a tarot book comb bound when we met, and I got a copy to study from. But then I was inspiring to her, I believe, to write her first book. It was How to Read the Tarot. It's on Llewellyn, or whatever that publisher is now. I don't know. It's on Amazon. And then she has How to Do Tarot Spreads. And then she wrote a numerology book. Sylvia Abraham is her name. That numerology book, I don't think was a great example of her work, but it was a quick publish, in her later years. But she's published a few books. The idea of metaphysics, to me, in my experience, was a way for me to find out that life has a rhythm. And to then find out from Seth, the teacher, that you create your own reality. If it wasn't for the metaphysics, it would have been almost impossible for me to understand Seth, the teacher, Seth material. My first book was The Education of Oversoul 7. It's a fiction book. I highly recommend that book. There's 3 books. First one's The Education of Oversoul 7. The second one's The Further Education of Oversoul 7. And the third one's called Oversoul 7 in the Museum of Time. The first one's the best. Really amazing. It's fiction. Jane Roberts is the author. Also the lady who channeled Seth. The second one's good. It continues the saga, but the third one gets a little bit interesting about time. It's a little deeper. Not easy to get through. But they're all wonderful. That was my introduction into Jane Roberts. And then I got into Seth. Seth would have been very, very impossible to understand, like Neville's difficult to understand for a lot of people, because there's no bridge. The metaphysics stuff, numerology, astrology, palmistry, tarot, which I learned and then I taught. Used to teach at the Learning Light Foundation all these subjects. Used to do parties, used to get hired out to go do parties. So I have the knowledge in here because of the time spent learning it and applying it and doing it thousands of times. But today, that becomes an understanding I have that got me to where is more important in understanding is that you create your own reality, is that your imagination creates reality. It's better. What I like about the Neville material is it's the easier way to digest if you can get past these few places that are difficult to grasp or that are difficult to create a habit from, like SATs. Like first thing when you wake up, what are you saying in your mind? What are you going to put there? When you're falling asleep, what are you putting there? During the day, when you see somebody who might be in need of help, what are you putting there? You have all these opportunities to change this about what you're changing in here. There's no one to change but self, so that means I am the cause of all this. One of the greatest things, Pruning, that Neville said was that when you see other people in whatever situation they're in, you caused it. He said it in different terms, but when someone comes to you, like the person who wants to be married and they're not married, you're the cause of them not being married. So if you imagine yourself persuaded that they are and they're going to come back and prove that they are, then you are imagining them there. You become persuaded. You become the new man who sees that new experience for that person. It's all happening in you. This is very high-level responsibility. It seems so when you're on the victim horse. When you're on the I am the creator of my experience horse, this isn't high-level responsibility. This is normal. This is your normal operating plateau because you're creating all the time. You're using your creativity positively. You're using it in line with the golden rule, as Neville says. You're constantly changing here and seeing it reflected there to the golden rule. Would I want that for myself? Would I want that to be married like this person wants it? Yes. Would I want to be wealthy like this person wants it? Yes. Everything. Would I want to be healthy like that person wants health? Yes. So then I apply it. I change it in here. I see it reflected out there. That's all that Neville was doing in a nutshell, if you had to simmer it down. But yes, it's a very good I'm glad you brought that up because I have a lot of experience in those subjects, a lot of knowledge. I used to teach them. So, if anybody's interested in that, you can let me know. And I might I have a lot of old tapes, cassettes from my teaching days that it struck me. I came across a set yesterday of a class I used to give. It was an 8-week class. And I thought, well, there's the cassettes. I wonder if anybody even wants to have that information. But it's not at the front of my awareness anymore. Like, I really like the Neville material. I think that if we get into it and conquer it and learn to change self like we should, we see the benefits so fast. I mean, so amazingly fast. Tariq, do you have any practices that ground you in that nowness? I think the best practice is just I am. I honestly think that because I've been using I am Jesus Christ as I fall asleep. And when I first started that, my dreams went bonkers. I mean, to tell you, bonkers. I mean, clear. I can't tell you what I was dreaming this morning, but when I was coming awake, oh my goodness, it was a lot of adventure. But I like the phrase "I am" for nowness, and it's as simple as this. You're gonna just kick back for a second, wherever you are. You're at home. You're on your couch. Just close your eyes. Go in the closet. Close your door. That's when you just sit there and say, "I am." Breathing slow. I am. I am. You just literally repeat that. Anytime you say it and repeat it, you're in the now. Now, if you say I am a couple times like that and you're calmed down, now then you say, who do people say I am? First off, you claimed it already, I am. And the phrase, who do people say I am? You could, during your I am moment, you say I am, and then imagine in your mind a friend coming up to you and congratulating you on the new success, on the new opportunity, on the new relationship. So you're in I am, you're in your now. Literally, there could be no more now than when you say I am. But in that imaginary moment, when your eyes are closed, I am, I am, I am. You imagine a friend, a very close friend, because you can hear their voice. You can sense their handshake or their hug. You can pretty much smell their hair if their hair's shampoo's stinky, whatever it is. Smell them, hear them, touch them, a hug, and they're coming to you and congratulating you on your new fill in the blank. So this is a now we're talking about. And in this now, you've brought the future here with your friend congratulating you on your new. That's how that explosion happens. Because they just congratulated you, meaning it's already done. Now you're literally in the Sabbath over the matter. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense, Tariq. Tariq, the Bible and the success stories aside, one thing I realized reading or listening to Neville is that he is very literal in his instructions, and that is very hard to accept. For example, like when he says, do not lift a finger to make it happen. Oh, I see your point. It's somebody in the comments got really upset with me that I saw this young gal with two children in front of the store with a sign, and she had, help wanted. I forgot what her sign said. I never really read the signs, but she had a sign looking for a handout. Herself and her two children, very small kids. When I walked in the store, I saw that they had in the soup bar in the store, you can buy soup and buy the food that's made already. I was at a Sprouts, and some people had given that to them, and the kids were eating that. And that's what I saw when I walked by on my way in. And I already knew on my way out, I'm going to get a picture of her face in my mind. Because once I do that, I know I don't have to lift a finger. And if you know anything about Freedom Barry, he did this, the best story ever. He was walking his dog, and I'll tell you what I did in a second. I'll try and make it brief. Freedom was walking his dog, and a homeless man came up to him and said, hey, can you spare some money? I haven't eaten and I want some food. And Freedom Barry says, no, I can't. And that was that. But Freedom stopped. He was walking his dog in San Francisco. This Freedom Barry is the guy that used to speak all the Neville type material in San Francisco when Neville was in LA. So Freedom was doing it up in San Francisco. So Freedom stopped. The guy walked away. Freedom imagined that guy coming back and telling him about his new opportunity, his new job, how successful he is, how happy he is. Freedom stopped and imagined that. The guy was going to share that, was actually literally sharing it with him in that moment. A month goes by. Freedom's walking his dog again. That guy comes up to him and says, hey, buddy, I don't suppose you remember me, but I asked you for money one time. And Freedom says, yes, I remember you, because he put some effort into it. And Freedom says, I remember you. And the guy says, I am so glad you didn't give me money that day, because I was upset with myself after that moment. And I went out and I got myself this opportunity. I forget what he said. He got himself a job and he was now doing something he loved doing, and he was very happy about it. But it was because of, to that guy, seemingly Freedom Barry's rejection of giving him money, that it spurred him to go do something. The guy thought it was all his idea. When you don't have to lift a finger, it means don't lift a finger. Whatever you do, go into imagination and persuade yourself, in line with today's point, no one to change but self. When I saw the gal, I got in my car. I saw her face. I knew what it looked like. I didn't even look at the children. I looked at her. I got in my car and I did my normal process. I'm pulling out. I'm driving home. I imagine her with her new success. With her new opportunity. She's now staying in a new place, has a car to drive. Someone's cooking her food, and she's doing something in her life only she knows how to do, and she loves it the most. And she's getting paid very well for it. She's telling me about that in my imagining. I'm actually hugging her. I'm actually touching the tops of the heads of the kids. All this happened in me. I do this all the time, Tariq. And what happens for me to prove it? I don't see them again. This is my proof that it happened. It's done. The moment I do the imagining, I know it's done. I did it for 3 guys in front of the same store that were trying to heavily persuade me to buy something or donate something. And I told the guy in that moment, I says, I'm going to give you something that you're probably not ready for, but I'm going to do it right here. And he was like, what are you talking about? I think another one of the kids, there was three boys, like they're like college age. They're trying to get donations for something. And I did it as I was in my car. I imagined all 3 of them as being, this was the only time and the last time they were together, because they all 3 went in their own magical new opportunities and directions. I've never seen that group of kids anymore. They were only there one day. I go in that store almost every day, and I never see those guys anymore. Everybody I do this for, Tariq, I never see him again. In fact, I have a friend, a very close friend, that congratulates me. When I get off my freeway and make a left, he gets off the freeway and makes a right to go to his house. He lives about 2 miles from me, 1.5 miles. The freeway is 1 mile from me. So in fact, coming off the freeway, it's always empty. He calls me to congratulate me because he knows that I'm doing, imagining lovingly, for anybody who happens to be on the off-ramp who's holding a sign. Because this is where people typically go when they hold up a sign for donations. I do the imagining. I never see him again. So this is the proof to me, Tariq, that it works. And the other proof in that category, the other proof is for my friends who tell me that they're in between jobs and they want to be back to work, but they're not back to work. One of them is a union friend. He wasn't getting called back. I just kept doing it. I kept doing it. Finally, he's called back, and now he's working so close to home in a neighborhood, in one of our neighborhoods here. He doesn't have to get on a freeway. He couldn't be happier over the matter. But during the waiting period, I had to keep imagining. Every time he would tell me it wasn't happening yet, or his number was getting closer, you know how the union jobs kind of work? The number was getting closer and closer and closer. He was still complaining, but I was still imagining. I wouldn't take what he was complaining about and believe it. I would only believe he's telling me the new success. And then now he's back. Now he's at the job, and now he's happy. That's where the proof of this happens. Hopefully that makes sense. Do not lift a finger to make it happen. Pursuing, the first book I read was The Secret. Then I found a video about Neville's The Law and the Promise, ordered it, and it completely blew my mind. I agree completely. Do you think that happened randomly, or did I manifest it? I have to go with the latter. I learned about this whole thing while I was, it's a fast commercial, 2006 or 5, I was teaching at the Learning Light Foundation, and The Secret, I think that's about the period The Secret came out. This is, or no, it's What the Bleep Do We Know, I think. Is that based on The Secret? Excuse me for having this fuzzy memory, but this movie came out, and the lady who was running the Learning Life Foundation, where I was teaching all these subjects, was talking about it, how when you look at somebody else and you see your own self perceived outward, she was talking about it, and then I go, okay. So I had a situation come up with a neighbor that I did this, I tried it for the first time, and it worked amazingly. It blew my mind, but I never continued the practice. I did a lot of other practices, but not that practice, which is this practice. So I learned it back during the movie time. I think it was What the Bleep Do We Know? I think The Secret came out similar time, I think. I was fuzzy memory on that. But yeah, yes, you did manifest it. So you're the creator. You manifest the books. The books exist in you, not out of you. That's why what I say about what Neville says is, to me, the Bible, you could burn every Bible. You can't get rid of the Bible and the 66 books because it exists inside of you. I don't, and obviously they sell enough of them to continue making money from them. So, and it's not an easy book to understand. And I think that's why it's so abundant in our reality. All these different Bibles, not just the New Standard Revised Version that Neville says is the cleanest version, or the King James, which he compares. And he had all the Bibles of the period in his time. He had the Greek and the Hebrew, and he would compare them and how they broke everything down, and studied the Bible 7 hours a day. Neville did. I mean, but I think the books exist in us. So yes, I agree with you. You created and manifested the book. You created Neville. I created Seth. Now I create Neville. And it's a guide that's within you. That's why the point of today, no one to change but self, because the self is the birth of it. If that makes sense, I hope it does. Palesa Malgus, thank you, Gilbert. You're very welcome. Glad you're here. Welcome. Pursuing The Secret came out in 2006. Yeah, that was The Secret then that I'm talking about. Yeah. And What the Bleep Do We Know? I can't look it up right now, but that's the other movie, right? Same period, I think. Stephen Nagel, I recently manifested a friend to get a new phone, and that my cat would find a new spot to lay instead of on top of the fridge. That's funny. Now in a box on the floor. That's such a great example. It's a wonderful example. There was that video I put out on Neville's birthday. That's that February 19th, I believe. I was walking into Sprouts, and this was at a time when the eggs were not abundant in the stores. They were like empty. And I was walking in the door, and in my mind in the door, I simply said, I'm walking out with eggs. I don't care. I'm walking out with eggs, the eggs that I buy. It's like 10 different eggs, brands or whatever. I'm walking out with the eggs. When I'm walking in the door, I could feel the door, and I could sense my walking out with the eggs. I got to the egg section. It's empty, completely empty. Then I'm shopping, and I see a sales gal, and I says, hey, is there any eggs? Any new eggs, or when are they coming? Thursday, Friday, no, Friday or Saturday. I think today was Thursday or Wednesday, whenever his birthday was. And then she says, no, check back on the weekend. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll come back Friday, check again. But I had already believed and manifested it in my mind that I was walking out with the eggs. I didn't change that. Even when she's telling me no eggs, come back later, I still held it. So I'm at the register, I'm checking out. Literally, the gal is scanning my last item, and she runs up with the eggs. Not any eggs, my eggs. We just got them in. And I go, oh, can you hold on? The guy on the register said, yeah, no problem. I'm about to go on break. I'll just pause this. So he's about to go on break. He's pausing the transaction. I go back with the gal. It's the same brand of eggs, but I wanted more. She brought the dozen pack. I brought the 18 packs. I went back. She had a whole dolly full of cases of them. Opened up the case. She goes, is that what you want? I go, that's exactly what I want. I grabbed 2 cartons of these. So now I got 36 eggs. I walked to the register. I walk out the door with the eggs. I'm going through the doorway and I got the eggs. That's how these small successes, the cat in the box, not on the fridge anymore. And what was the other one? The friend got a new phone. These small successes are huge. Climbing a ladder is huge. People don't realize that these small successes equal to big ones because it's the same effort. This is the hard thing, I think, to grasp. It's the same effort. Like Neville telling Elmer O'Locker Jr., you climbed a ladder, great, success, awesome. You could have easily manifested $1 million as you did climbing that ladder. And then he goes on to instruct him. This is the same part where you do not want to take for granted that you succeeded in that phone for your friend, the cat in the box, not on the fridge. Those successes are huge. They're proof positive that you are doing it. Now you just take what you did and repeat it. It's really that simple. Hopefully that makes sense. Tariq, I think what the bleep came out earlier. Oh yeah, probably. I just forget the year. Prasoon, does revision work better when we write the revised story? I think it's all written here. Don't get me wrong. I believe the power of this is huge. Anything you write down is, I don't have my notepad. I'm looking for my notepad. I used to teach goals, writing goals and accomplishing goals. And at one time, I took every niece and nephew I have in my family. I have a lot of them. I made them in front of me write down the 10 goals as if they're already accomplished. I did this so many years. I can't even tell you what years. Maybe in the 2000s, 2006, 7, 8, maybe. Even before that, probably 2004 or 5. I made them all write things. I made them all write 10 goals as if they're positive, present, and they were already in the past. Like they're done. That's what I was doing at this time. Every single one of those nieces and nephews are doing so well in their world that they are creating for themselves. They all have many babies. They all have many professions, married, husbands, everything. I can see them writing in this place of, wow, it's like this is magic. I want to do this. And they wrote, and I can just see the magic of the moment because I can perceive those kinds of things. I can appreciate them too. But now to see their lives and what they've flourished into blows my mind because they have flourished. And I never hear any of them bring up that list. Not once. Not once ever. But I know they did it. I saw them do it. I read most of them. All amazing to behold. So yes, you cannot discount this. There's other Neville type of people on YouTube and some that are very strict about stay Neville. But to me, anything that works, works. If you're writing goals and it works, don't stop writing. If you're making a vision board and it works, don't stop making vision boards. I don't care what it is. If it's helping you get to where you want to be, do more of it. Right? But this is powerful. Not even going to say it's not. Stephen, the friend with a new phone was so easy too. I told him I would imagine him having a new phone right now after he was saying his wasn't good while playing Pokemon Go. He told me like a week later he was getting a new one. It's so that simple. It's so that simple. To continue, I've manifested lots of money in the past. It was the first thing I manifested. Wonderful. On my journey, over $1 million in crypto, but have since lost it. But I know why and am revising and imagining again. Same with SP, manifested one and we broke up, but changing my outlook again. Congratulations. You found the source. And that's the point of today. The source is here. No one to change but self. You have found it. Don't lose it. All right, we've gone past our hour, but I'll see if I can cover the last of my talking points I've made notes of. Practice this for 48 hours. No one to change myself. Understand it. Remind yourself, I'm just changing me. I'm not changing them. I'm just changing me. Practice this. Like great examples in the text today, in the chat. Try any of these things and then report back. Come back to the video and put it in the comments. I read all the comments. I respond to everything. Remember these two key lines. To the pure, all things appear pure, or to the pure, all things are pure. If I am pure, everything appears pure. It's because it's only a reflection. Change me, and the cast outside of me changes. So as you change your self-concept in here, everything reflecting you is going to change automatically and pretty much immediately. They won't even know they're playing a new role. Like, you'll be the same person, the person you're married to, the person you're related to, the same person, but they're in a different role. As you change in here, they become completely different. Prasoon, thanks a lot for answering all my questions. You're very welcome. Ren70, thank you. You're very welcome. And thank you, everybody, for stopping by. We do have one more tomorrow. It is day 5. Remain faithful, the Sabbath, and the wish fulfilled. And I hope to see you there. If I do, great. If I don't, you'll see me in the repeats. Otherwise, have a wonderful day.